The last days in the Old Testament prophets. The last days, as mentioned in the Old Testament prophets, often refers to a future time marked by divine intervention, restoration, and judgment. This concept holds theological significance in both Jewish and Christian traditions. Below are key themes and references to the last days in the prophetic books of the Old Testament. Key themes and references. 1. Definition and context. The last days, Hebrew, acharit hayamim, typically indicates a period of fulfillment of God's promises, the culmination of history under divine sovereignty, a time of judgment and restoration. The term often encapsulates themes of eschatology, study of end times, pointing to both near-term and far future events from the prophet's perspectives. Key themes and references. 2. Key themes in the prophets. A. Judgment. Many prophetic writings associate the last days with judgment against nations and Israel for disobedience. For instance, Isaiah chapter 2 verses 12 to 22. God will judge human pride and false security. Zephaniah chapter 1 verses 14 to 18. The great day of the Lord brings wrath and destruction. Key themes and references. B. Restoration and renewal. The last days often include promises of renewal for Israel and the nations. Isaiah chapter 2 verses 2 to 4. A vision of peace and justice, where nations come to Zion to learn God's ways. Micah chapter 4 verses 1 to 4. Echoes Isaiah's vision of universal peace under God's rule. Key themes and references. C. The coming of the Messiah. Many prophetic texts anticipate the arrival of a messianic figure. Isaiah chapter 11 verses 1 to 10. A Davidic king will reign with justice and usher in an era of peace. Zechariah chapter 9 verses 9 to 10. The coming of a righteous and humble king. Key themes and references. D. The outpouring of the Spirit. A future time marked by God's Spirit transforming lives. Joel chapter 2 verses 28 to 32. God's Spirit will be poured out on all people, accompanied by signs in the heavens and on earth. E. Inclusion of the nations. The last days foresee Gentile nations turning to worship the God of Israel. Isaiah chapter 19 verses 23 to 25. A highway between Egypt and Assyria, symbolizing reconciliation. Amos chapter 9 verses 11 to 12. Restoration of David's fallen tent and inclusion of all nations. Key themes and references. 3. Specific prophetic references. Hosea chapter 3 verse 5. A future return to God and Davidic leadership. Jeremiah chapter 23 verses 5 to 6. The righteous branch who brings justice. Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 24 to 28. The unification of Israel under one shepherd and the everlasting covenant of peace. Daniel chapter 2 verses 44 to 45. God's eternal kingdom destroying human empires. Key themes and references. 4. Dual fulfillment. The prophetic last days often have a dual focus. Immediate fulfillment. Events relevant to the prophet's audience, e.g., the Babylonian exile and return. Ultimate fulfillment. Future eschatological events involving the Messiah and the final establishment of God's kingdom. Key themes and references. 5. Relation to the New Testament. The last days concepts in the Old Testament provide a foundation for New Testament eschatology. For example, Acts chapter 2 verses 16 to 21 cites Joel's prophecy to explain the Pentecost outpouring of the Spirit. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2 declares the arrival of the last days with Jesus Christ. Who are the Old Testament prophets? The Old Testament prophets are individuals who were chosen by God to deliver his messages to the people of Israel and surrounding nations. They often called the people to repentance, warned of judgment, and foretold future events, including the coming of the Messiah. The prophets are divided into two main categories based on the length of their books: major prophets and minor prophets. Here's a breakdown. Major prophets. The books of the major prophets are longer and address broader themes. 1. Isaiah prophesied about the coming of the Messiah and the restoration of Israel. 2. Jeremiah warned of the impending Babylonian exile and emphasized repentance. 3. Lamentations, traditionally attributed to Jeremiah, it is a poetic lament over the destruction of Jerusalem. Major prophets. 4. Ezekiel. Known for his vivid visions, he spoke about God's glory, the restoration of Israel, and the new temple. 5. Daniel. Famous for interpreting dreams and visions, Daniel also prophesied about future kingdoms and the end times. Minor prophets. The minor prophets are shorter books, but their messages are equally profound. 1. Hosea. Used his own marriage as a metaphor for God's relationship with unfaithful Israel. 2. Joel. Spoke about the day of the Lord, and promised the outpouring of the Spirit. 3. Amos. Called for justice and righteousness, condemning social injustices. 4. Obadiah. Prophesied against Edom and spoke of God's judgment. Minor prophets. 5. Jonah. Reluctantly delivered God's message to Nineveh, leading to their repentance. 6. Micah. Foretold the birth of the Messiah in Bethlehem and emphasized justice, mercy, and humility. 7. Nahum. Announced the fall of Nineveh as a judgment from God. 8. Habakkuk. Questioned God's ways and ultimately affirmed faith in him. Minor prophets. 9. Zephaniah. Warned of judgment and spoke of restoration for the faithful remnant. 10. Haggai. Encouraged the rebuilding of the temple after the exile. 11. Zechariah. Delivered apocalyptic visions and messianic prophecies. 12. Malachi. The last Old Testament prophet, he spoke against spiritual complacency and foretold the coming of John the Baptist. Other prophets. In addition to those with books named after them, there are other prophets mentioned in the Old Testament. Moses. Considered the greatest prophet in Israel, he delivered God's law and led the Israelites out of Egypt. Samuel. A judge and prophet, he anointed the first kings of Israel. Other prophets. Elijah. Known for his miracles and confrontation with the prophets of Baal. Elisha, successor to Elijah, also performed many miracles. Nathan. Rebuked King David over his sin with Bathsheba. Deborah. A prophetess and judge who led Israel to victory. Characteristics of prophets. They were called by God. They often faced opposition. Their messages included warnings, hope, and revelation of God's will. These prophets played a vital role in guiding Israel, preserving the covenant, and preparing the way for the New Testament fulfillment in Jesus Christ. Subscribe, share, like, hit that notification bell for more information. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your climate change friends and associates. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that notification bell for more information on Jesus and climate change every day, week, month, and year. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the current information. Thank you for watching.